welcome back to the final match of the Overwatch Pacific Championship Week 9, day number 3. I'm AVRL, joined with me still are Pixie and Smite as we're about to kick off DeToNator.GOLD versus Hong Kong Attitude. And this will be both of these teams' first match in the final round robin as well.
Yeah, and well, there is a lot to say about this one. More, I think, about Hong Kong Attitude, actually, because they are kind of on the upswing. So seeing what kind of shape they're in for this final round robin after their upset against AHQ in the third one is going to be most of what I feel we'll get out of this series.
Absolutely. It was a full upset as well. It's not like they just took a map. They actually beat AHQ. They're looking absolutely
AHQ
fantastic.
are now very upset.
I mean, they would be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we can say a lot of the same thing for DeToNator, saying, oh yeah, cool, they're on the upswing, they've improved a lot, especially since their very first week.
And they have.
And they have, but then again, they still weren't even able to touch Fireball. And yeah, Fireball has improved a lot too, but Hong Kong Attitude and their improvement, like you said, upset AHQ entirely, whereas DeToNator, at the very least, they did take a map off of AHQ.
That's the thing. And by the point of comparison, DeToNator took a map. But Hong Kong Attitude actually took a whole series, so it stands to reason.
Which is exactly why I kind of bring that up, because both teams have kind of upset HQ in a sort of way. One team actually got that win though, so here we go, a couple of words from Mango Jai on the left, and I believe that is Yoshiharu on the right, if I'm not mistaken. But we haven't been doing so good lately, and we're hoping to do much better tonight.
谢谢我们的芒果仔，那接下来轮到我们的赛哈特。
1ポイントでも取れるよう今日も頑張ります。
他说他们会一分分的走向胜利。好，看起来是非常和平的开场了。我们还是先握个手。
There you go. First step would be to, I suppose, also upset Hong Kong Attitude. That's an interesting thing, isn't it? You know, technically, yeah, both upset AHQ, but yeah, DeToNator had them shedding a single tear, but Hong Kong Attitude had them crying their eyes out of prom.
Just really weeping it.
They were deeply upset. Yeah.
It's also very funny to hear Hong Kong Attitude again say, "Oh yeah, we haven't been doing too well."
It's a running joke, right?
Never gonna, like they could. It's not going to happen in this tournament. Like I feel like they could win a tournament and they'd be like, "Look, we really feel like we're not at our best just yet. Like we just haven't been doing too great lately."
To be honest, I think I can see his point of view as well, because look, their team has some very good players on it. Their team sort of started out the competition super strong in that first round robin, and now that they're trailing Machi, it does feel like, a bit of a problem for them. The best win they've had so far is against AHQ. Unfortunately, that in the standings is not reflected very well. All it does mean in the standings is that they're sort of tying up with Machi.
Tell you what it does mean in the standings is AHQ are going to have to settle for third this round robin instead of a tied second. I think that's probably going to be the most significant thing to come out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So what really Hong Kong Attitude gets out of that is they upset AHQ's run in the playoffs rather than give themselves an actual shot at the playoffs. Yeah. So that's the unfortunate thing.
It does also kind of tie it up, because their biggest competitor right now in terms of who they can actually overtake is, of course, Machi. And we've got to remember that Machi are another team that upset Flashwolves, another top 3 team. So that's happened for both Hong Kong Attitude and Machi, and they're also, I believe, 2 wins to Machi, 1 win for Hong Kong Attitude between each other, but Machi also lost 1 to Fireball. So yeah, all in all, it's ended up being about tied by the third round robin. So it comes down to when they end up playing off against each other.
So you actually see out here that Hong Kong Attitude is sitting on 11 wins and 10 losses. So that's coming off of their third round robin. Like I said, this is their very first game in the current and final round robin. Machi lead by that 1 match win, but also they have 2 additional losses. Those were from both Blank and Flashwolves. So Machi have actually yet to play AHQ, and Hong Kong Attitude have yet to play any of those teams whatsoever. They're going to start things off with a potential win here against DeToNator.GOLD, and on the home side as well, which is very advantageous for them.
And that's the thing, right? Both of those teams, Hong Kong Attitude and Machi, they end in a draw if they both lose to all 3 of the top 3 teams. Machi have already done that against 2, and if they then beat all the ones below them, they just completely end in a draw. The only way that changes is if either a team below them beats one of them and not the other, or they beat a team above them and the other doesn't. And there's actually a lot of room for that to happen. When you're sat in the middle of the standings, look, there is still room for, say, Machi to beat AHQ, or Hong Kong Attitude to beat AHQ again, or someone like Fireball to take out Hong Kong Attitude. They weren't able to do it a moment ago against Machi, but hey, maybe they could later on in the tournament. This is actually still a tenuous position, and actually the best case scenario for both teams is tying for 4th place in terms of getting that prize money, so they really want to hold on to that with all their might.
So it is a very sort of precarious situation for Hong Kong Attitude to be in. We're going to take a look at the lineups now, starting off with Hong Kong Attitude, Mango Jai, K4, Jin, Kao, Cheng, Xiaolin, and CQB to round that one up. Delave, Anakin, Samurai D, Saihate, Yoshiharu, and Dotrolov on the Detonator Gold side as well.
And well, Detonator, I'd say if there is a team below Hong Kong Attitude to upset them, then it would more likely be Fireball. Right now, I wouldn't put Detonator as the best shot at taking them down.
Yeah, I think Fireball, after what they did to Machi, absolutely are the team. And actually, what Pixie said earlier in the sense of what's really going to affect the standings now is going to be if these teams, Hong Kong Attitude and Machi, can take down a team above them, which has been in the case of Hong Kong Attitude specifically was AHQ last round robin. If they can repeat that this round robin, it would be a big deal. Machi still have that shot against AHQ as well. Fireball already lost to Machi, so that's not going to happen, but Hong Kong Attitude still have to play Fireball as well.
That on your screens from just a moment ago there, Ting, has been one of the biggest things I think Hong Kong Attitude have actually struggled with. He has struggled when he pulls out the Reinhardt. They haven't needed to pull it out, but even now in the fringe times where they do, it has improved a lot, but it's still just not quite there. Luckily for them, a few teams do seem to be having that same problem now. Delave is he's already upset.
Yeah. He's furious. But also funny to look at his picks as well, right? Lucio and Tracer.
Interesting, you just never see that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a unique combination of picks there. Usually you see the Lucio plays flexing onto things like Sombra or maybe one of the other supports, but Tracer is a little interesting.
I mean, it's kind of him and Restia that really do that, right? They're the only two support players in this competition that also have this other pick out, and specifically from Lucio as well. Dotrolov, I don't even know what that was. He's got a Lucio in the back pocket as well. So, you know, if Delave does go onto the Tracer, that's when Dotrolov might actually pull out the Lucio himself. And here it is, the man, the myth, the legend of DeToNator.GOLD, Anakin.
Definitely a standout for his team, and especially if you compare him as a player to where the team is currently ranked, I'd definitely put Anakin currently above that. And quite often in the games that DeToNator does do well, in a similar way to Apudo, is that Anakin does end up carrying his team to victories during team fights, and occasionally the odd map win against teams that they're not very expected to win against.
Absolutely feels like the Apudo of the team for sure.
Yeah, in a funny way, yeah. And that's a really odd thing to say. I mean, we identified him right at the top as sort of being the team's, if you will, superstar. The difference now between DeToNator and some other teams is other teams have kind of gelled to not just be superstar-centric, and I do actually feel DeToNator are moving in that direction themselves as well, but it's not quite as concerted as it seems to be with other teams.
Very early map pick, Hong Kong Attitude not wasting any time, going straight onto Lijiang Tower. It's going to be the control map of the night, I think.
Yeah, why not? Let's go back.
I mean, it feels pretty familiar.
Take me back to Lijiang.
Well, actually, we got two Ilioses out of blank, so...
Actually, you're right, Eddie. You're totally right about that.
But so, I mean, Lijiang can be the other one of the night. Can be the second sibling of the night.
Yeah,
it's the sun sister.
Well, I mean, look, it's been a popular. Oh my god, it's been a popular map pick for a very long time. I mean, only very recently we've seen a few teams start adapting to certain other maps. For example, blank on Ilios. So Lijiang Tower has always been a popular pick. Hong Kong Attitude are, I've got to say, more of a standard team than a lot of the other teams in the competition right now. They don't seem to be branching out, trying to pick a map as their own pick just yet. So they're happy to go to a map like Lijiang Tower.
So here's the thing about the two teams. When we really put them side by side and weigh them up pound for pound, you put the plays next to each other. Dotrolov's great on the sort of Anna Zenyatta pick. So is Mango Jai, that's pretty good. Ting and Samurai D have sort of been here or there on the tank roles. They both have some good moments, some really questionable moments. They kind of pair up quite nicely as well. Once you go to the DPS side, though, you got K4, and you got Anakin. Yeah, that's a pretty good duel I'm looking forward to. Suddenly, though, you get to Xiaolin, and that's when Hong Kong Attitude got an ace in the pocket. Because Saihate is not quite there yet.
Exactly. And I mean, even as it is, look, I would tend to just favor K4 over Anakin on any given day. And it's like, sometimes Anakin has these moments of brilliance where he does overcome K4 and then overcomes the whole rest of the team as well. But you're completely right about Xiaolin. In fact, Xiaolin is one of the tracers in this tournament we even rate right up with players like Eat You Up and Bacon Jack. So I mean, he's already looking better.
Contenders for sure.
Yeah, exactly. He's already looking better than actually some of the Tracers in the pool and the teams above him in the standings. I mean, that's more than an ace up your sleeve. That's like a whole rigged deck lying up there.
That's the thing. I would rate Shylin above Kant right now from Machi. Kant's really been struggling. I would also rate Shylin decently, at least on par, if not above, where Dizzy and Kalman are sitting. Definitely above Kalman, and Dizzy's really come into his own on Tracer, but still not quite there enough. So Shylin is sort of in that sort of middle ground section where he's a little bit above Dizzy, but not quite where Bacon Jack and Eat Up are sitting. But that is still a very decent place to be sitting when you have the kind of Tracer that is competing with the top 3 teams, and even better than some of the top 3 teams members on your team right now on Hong Kong Attitude as a middle of the pack team yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to be hitting up Control Center first. I'm curious to see what they take out the gate, actually. Samurai D, they're hovering over this triple tank here with this Reinhardt and the Zarya, and this is something we used to see a lot, especially on specifically Control Center of Lijiang Tower. Teams would use this kind of get ultimates charged up and take a very aggressive defense. Let's see if it works for DeToNator.
But it is weird because you're running both Winston and the Reinhardt at the same time. We saw this a little bit on Numbani come out specifically for Flash Walls, but DeToNator, they want to bring it out at Lijiang.
Yeah, opting away from that Diva. It's kind of interesting because you do forego a lot of defensive tools, especially in shutting down soldiers and the like, but there isn't actually a soldier here to shut down, so let's see how this one does go. They're getting some good pressure onto Jinkao, but kind of struggling to get enough pressure to convert kills.
Well, eventually Hong Kong Attitude just surround DeToNator. That's the problem. DeToNator losing ground very quickly. The cap may even go through if DeToNator not careful.
Yeah, they try and break out.
There should be a collapse soon.
Yeah, he keeps getting the shield broken down, and now he doesn't have really enough of the time to get it back up. Shaolin is around his backside. He goes down. They've lost the big front line, and now the rest just kind of get beaten back. They do get a couple of good return kills, but it's the DPS going uncontested that's really securing this one. But hold on, Anakin, he's kind of got something out of this, and Yoshiharu wants to go on the aggressive, so they may just be able to push it through. They actually are off the back of one of those, like I said before, moments of brilliance out of Anakin.
And this is the thing. This is the guy on the team that will do this for the team. And Yoshiharu as well was sitting on such high charge. He was on about 95 when we last saw him with the nano boost on him as well. Back to 95 now. This guy is absolutely deadly.
Yeah, well, you want an entertainment, you've got it. And Yoshiharu with that charge up.
Are you not impressed?
Are you not entertained? They're going to go ahead and commit the Graviton Surge. They haven't seen him up for so long, and he forgot what it was. And actually, he was the only one in it. He kind of stood himself and like, come on, guys, it's really nice in here. But no one came, and Ting just kind of killed the rest of the team.
Well, Ting does come back in there, so, you know, wow, what Anakin did, though, on that Tracer is kind of what you expect Shylin to have done against DeToNator. And actually, Shylin had a decent run against DeToNator, really broke down Samurai D early, got the kill on the Reinhardt, but really from there, the rest of DeToNator broke free. And I said DeToNator would look like they were back into a corner, and eventually when you're back in the corner, you lash out, and they lashed out in a big way.
Well, now here's the opportunity for another moment of brilliance out of Anakin. The pulse bomb goes white though, and he catches Jin Kao's self-destruct as well. Little unfortunate. Shylin does connect the pulse bomb, and already this fight is over for DeToNator.
Absolutely, and it's about cutting your losses now. Where even is Samurai D? I think Samurai D actually charged his way back home smartly, so the only member left alive. So, you know, progress-wise, it's fairly even. Hong Kong Attitude have blown all their ults. They do get it charged up on Mango Joe with that Transcendence as well, but I do got to sort of admit the lack of damage out of DeToNator is a little bit concerning. They're heavily relying on mainly Anakin and a little bit on Yoshiharu as well, assuming Yoshiharu can get high charge again.
The one good thing is they at least have Saihade, because they don't have the Diva, they have the Winston, who can provide a little bit of extra damage, but they're not even getting the damage through in the early parts of the fight. You're right, they had to stay in the fight too long. And honestly, Hong Kong Attitude, by the time the fight has gone on long enough for DeToNator to have the damage up, Hong Kong Attitude have already either won or lost. When they've lost, I don't know what they died to.
You're actually at the stage now where it's awkward for Saihate and Yoshiharu to change off, because Saihate can only go to the soldier from here. His Tracer pick has been taken by Anakin. Samurai D as well, he's most likely going to stay under the Reinhardt, and he can't really change because his Winston pick is taken up by Saihate. So DDN are in this sort of weird position.
It's the point where you change to Hanzo and Int. K4 going aggressive with this Dragon Blade again. Look, DeToNator haven't even really been able to get in with the few ultimates they were able to rack up. It's like every time they start moving for a fight, Hong Kong Attitude just kind of kill them before DeToNator can even breathe. It's really unfortunate. They're just going to go ahead, commit a boost onto Anakin. Maybe he can get a last ditch, but he's miles away from the point. Hong Kong Attitude very clean on the first one.
I like the creativity out of DeToNator. I mean, they were clean up until that first fight where actually DeToNator came up through pretty big, mainly off the back of Anakin. But this is the problem I said about this lineup is it's heavily reliant on Anakin to get the damage done. You're running both main tanks here. Your damage output does start to look pretty weak, specifically against very mobile DPS on the other side. You're running against a Tracer and a Genji. You're a Reinhardt. What are you meant to do about that? You can't really get much done in that sort of situation. So damage output-wise, DeToNator really struggled, and when Anakin pulled through, it looked good. When Anakin couldn't pull through, well, DeToNator fell aside.
And that makes your entire team just far too binary, and he only pulled through the once anyway. Now going back into something a little bit more comfortable, going on to that 2-2-2, running the dive.
Genji duel.
Yeah, Genji duel indeed. We're going to have to see how those head-to-heads we talked about come out, because this is exactly mirrored for Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, really exciting stuff, and the K4 versus Anakin duel I've definitely been looking forward to for some time. Unfortunately, like I said, Shailin versus Saihate, that should be, unfortunately, rather one-sided.
Yeah, unfortunately for Saihate, I suppose, is the only thing to add to that for me here. Now K4 trying to get aggressive onto the side. They actually do get a good opener if they take Jin Kao's mech, but too many are low. They kind of had to overextend to do that. And Anakin, who was waiting on, K4 rather, who was waiting on the side, is able to just go straight in, capitalize on it. They clean up the point, and they're going to get the cap over 2.
Yeah, now that was a much cleaner fight on Hong Kong Attitude. You see this sort of effect that Shailin really had into that fight as well. K4 with a couple of nice deflects in there. Shailin's nearly sitting on pulse bomb, so you can snowball this next engagement very easily for your Hong Kong Attitude. One good shake gets, even if they get one member and DeToNator are already committed, that's going to be a massive team wipe. Hong Kong Attitude can get it there. They're actually going to get 2 members with that shake. I don't know how early that was committed, so maybe DeToNator can actually back themselves out of this one. And it looks like they do.
Yeah, they are actually able to get away from it, but yeah, this is already looking to be a repeat of Control Center, with the only difference being DeToNator don't get a cap through.
They don't. And what Shailin really bought with that was extra percentage on the cap, 32%. Now DeToNator have no opportunities to actually charge their ults because they lost it last fight so early.
And that's what the Pulse Bomb does. Like, it's not something you necessarily have to hold for a team fight. You can actually just throw it out early, because if you do get a catch with it, it can stop the fight before it starts a lot of the time. Now DeToNator are kind of going to have to throw in this Transcendence just so that they get an opportunity to commit, but they're not even able to set up while it's running. Dragonblade does at least get counted out. Good aggression by Samurai D, and they're starting to close a few out here as they catch Shailin as well. Anakin is kind of one of those moments of brilliance that we talk about. He did it to commit the Dragonblade for it, but they are actually able to get themselves onto the point, so call me a liar, but DeToNator will actually get a cap.
And what DeToNator did quite well there is they enabled Anakin to get his Dragonblade out while simultaneously shutting down K4. K4 just got Dragonblade towards the end there, but by the time he got it, he had no health to get to back out, and he couldn't even do that. He got killed. So Hong Kong Attitude's turnaround play, which was reliant on K4, that wasn't even an option for them at the end of the day.
Well, K4 now has his own Dragonblade, so again, we're going to get a little bit of this inkling of a head-to-head.
Into sound barrier.
We'll see who gets more mileage, but you're right, into sound barrier indeed.
And that's going to be the difficulty for Hong Kong Attitude. They got one of their own, and here we go. Should be the commit.
There is the defensive sound barrier indeed, like you said, and he's not really able to find much with it. In fact, he is going to find, hey, he finds Anakin, but on the fall he finds less. On the whole, sorry, he finds less than what Anakin did find. They do get a trade back onto a Ting as well. They're struggling to kind of close out any more kills though, so DeToNator might just let this one slip through their grasp, but yeah, not quite yet as they catch Mango Jaya with the ultimate from Samurai D still running. The ultimate is now over for him, and Jin Kao with the pressure on the point. Yoshiharu is kind of getting forced out of this one because they don't really have the DBS to answer, given that Anakin died so early on, and now on his way back to the point, may just be at risk of dying again. If not him, then Saihate, but at any rate, the point cap will go back the way of Hong Kong.
Yeah, well, they're going to commit just a little bit here, not in terms of ultimates, but just players on the point, because they're trying to bleed down their clock. They're trying to get a little bit more progress, and for a few moments, they did even it out, which is important because DeToNator do rely on the progress a little bit to keep themselves in that game. Now, they got to go for a fairly early fight here. They cannot wait. If they wait too long, they're going to miss out on their opportunity to contest for the overtime.
Anakin again holding on to this Dragonblade, and it just seems to be his turn and then K4's turn, and we'll see how he is able to play it.
Like you pass the sword to the other side.
There's only one sword between them, and now Anakin committing it straight into a Transcendence. He can't out DPS that one and just loses his life. Looks more fool me as K4 securing Dodlov now is going to take the Dragon Blade off the dead body of Anakin. Now he opens up and see if he can get more. Already much better opening, taking out Samurai D, and this is some sick gear he looted from that dead robot guy as he picks up Saihari as well, and they secure another fight. The overtime ticks down. They set themselves up 2-0.
Oh boy. Give me that legendary, baby. That legendary drop, please. Oh man, it's like
you see this dead robot? You pick its sword up. Oh man, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
It does feel like that's what it looked like though, because it was.
They never had them at the same time.
Well, they did, but actually the one time they had it at the same time was when K4 died. So that was when Anakin was enabled. Anakin used his Dragon Blade. K4 got it just up in time, but he got shut down by Samurai D, so he never got to use it. I would have felt like he wanted to use it, but he knew he was just dead anyway. So that was the only time they had it at the same time. Other than that, one of the Genjis had it, the other one didn't.
Yeah, that was pretty entertaining actually. Just like almost like this little side quest. It's like win the game, and then the side quest pops up like kill the other Genji, take his sword. And
which,
now,
by the way, K4 did kill Anakin with his Dragon Blade one time.
Yeah, that was pretty great. I actually feel like even though Anakin did get more mileage, that was a little bit better executed on the whole by K4. So here we go. Speaking of, he's now going to be out the soldier, so we're not quite going to get that same 1v1. Anakin is sort of up in the skies here.
It's not going to be a fair 1v1 either.
Yeah, certainly not. And already DeToNator getting absolutely ripped to pieces. Going to have to retreat.
Yeah, not a very good start there. You know, losing Dodlov at the end there as well is definitely going to affect their ability to get back into this in any sort of timely manner. K4 now set up means it's going to be a little bit more difficult for Anakin to get it. He knows it. Changes directly off back onto the Genji. He's saying, oh, we're not going to have a Genji duel. It's going to be you on Soldier, me on Genji. Let's have it at it.
Shylin needs healing, by the way. Someone ought to get on that. Hong Kong Attitude now with the point in their favor, looking poised to hold it out nicely as Mango is about to get his ultimate up.
Exactly, and actually K4's about to get ultimate up as well. That's
one of those 1v1s.
That's the other duel that I've been talking about that is unfortunately not so good for Sai-Huff. The Shylin is just fantastic. Now Pulse Bomb in the favor of him as well. Dodlov going down means that I think DeToNator should be backing out.
They absolutely are. They're going to lose Yoshiharu's mech to boot. In fact, hey, why not kill Anakin while you're at it too? Burn down their house, shoot their dog, steal their wife.
I don't know why Yoshiharu actually didn't take a dive off the side there. After he lost his mech, it looked like he kind of stuck around for a little bit before he went down eventually to K4, so probably didn't need to defeat the eventual ult charge right at the end, but at the same time, K4 was already on Tech Visor anyway, so there's that little silver lining for him.
Tech Visor indeed.
Yeah. Which is not good for DeToNator because they're not coming in with a lot.
Certainly not. In fact, they're only really coming in. Actually, they are just about to get a couple of ultimates up. This is very early Transcendence out of Mango. They go very aggressive. Oh! K4 just gets blown to pieces and dramatically spins off the bridge there. And actually, DeToNator are kind of well poisoned as Mango committed that one very, very early. Yoshiharu's going to be able to get back in the mech. Shylin does trade one back onto Anakin though, so it's certainly not over. It's not out of the woods yet, as DeToNator are at least able to get onto the point. But still, the kills are coming up. Hong Kong Attitude, as now the respawn is through for K4. He's able to get the Tech Visor out. Second Heartbreak as he goes flying off the edge of the map. See ya indeed. DeToNator may be able to keep this one on lockdown. It's going to be a hard ask still. Dodlov getting picked off there, and they're desperately trying to close out these last few kills. And Ting will be able to throw out the ultimate to try and delay, and he's actually not going to bother. They are going to get the cap through at long last.
Anakin would have probably wished he held onto the Dragon Blade though, because DeToNator were already looking pretty slim on ultimates. Now they're looking at exactly 0, and they got a lot to catch up on in terms of actual progress itself. Gonna play this next fight rather neutral territory, I would say, for both teams. Primal Raise from Hong Kong Attitude not going to be as useful because they don't have the cap already on their side, but Hong Kong Attitude have time to burn. They're already on 99%. They don't have a lot of pressure on them.
Yeah, good kind of positioning by K4 around the side. He's able to kind of provide pressure without even having to be anywhere near this fight and play the ground game. Dodlov already picked out at the top of this one, and it is already starting to go pear-shaped. The cap went through as well as DeToNator abandoned the point like it's, I don't know, got diseases or something. Lava. The stick comes through onto Samurai D. Yeah, the point is lava apparently, and Hong Kong Attitude have built up a healthy immunity. And here we go, Hong Kong Attitude getting the 3-0. Dunzo.
That's a bit of an immunity to build up on.
And a lava immunity. It runs in the family.
It's very specific as well. Not even fire, it's just lava.
Just lava, yeah. Which is a problem because like the lava makes your clothes catch on fire, and that's what gets you. You have to be naked on the lava.
So this is Genji on the. This is Genji on the K4. Is what I was trying to say there. Obviously.
Well, he got a 4K, I think. So yeah.
Well, actually, it was Shailin that got the other kills there.
Got the kill credits, actually. Most of the damage was done by K4, and that's the key thing.
Let's be honest, the Pulse Bomb was just going to kill them anyway because it does that much damage. So that extra damage from K4 was just pointless.
I contributed, guys, and I got player of the game for it too. Oh, man. I tell you.
Do you think if
that's the problem with this generation. You get a trophy for everything.
Do you think if K4 had a dog, it'd be called K9? Just wanted to bring that one out there.
That was a good one.
It was a pretty good one.
I've never seen you be corny, and I don't ever want to see it again.
It's just that time of the night, fellas. Just that time of the night. As Hong Kong Attitude take the first game 1-0. Pretty clean sweep as well. 3-0 on Lijiang overall. So right now for DeToNator.GOLD, that unfortunately just wasn't hot enough. Some good moments from Anakin, but that is one of the issues we sort of point out for DeToNator.GOLD. They're relying on these good moments from Anakin. Unfortunately for Saihate on that Tracer, still not up to scratch. I much prefer Saihate on the actual Soldier itself. That's been a much better pick for him, much safer pick for him. Speaking of picks though, what happened there with that double main tank? Winston, Reinhardt, I don't know. On Control Center, not quite the best idea. Maybe bring it on in Barney.
It felt like DeToNator were trying to run this hardcore protect Anakin composition because you've got two, like you said, main tanks.
Yeah, what's to protect?
I know, but he's the only real form of damage, right? And it just felt like, what else are they trying to do with that? Because you've got a Winston who wants to dive in, and then who's Reinhardt protecting?
It's like Anakin will blink a couple of times forward, and then Samurai D's like, I can't protect you anymore. It's just sorry, I can't get
Samurai D suddenly blinks forward, and everyone's like, whoa! It's this unique interaction when you run a Winston and a Reinhardt.
No one's ever done it before. No one ever runs that.
Very high APM. It's very difficult to do.
All right, so we have, I would say, a fairly decent lead for Hong Kong Attitude. I mean, again, 3-0 is pretty dominant. It's not like what we saw from Machi Fiber, where it was a 3-2 in super close series. This was definitely more or less just in the favor of Hong Kong Attitude. Again, some good moments from DeToNator, not enough good moments to really say, wow, DeToNator could have taken that, unfortunately.
You know what I've always thought would be really funny as an added feature on Reinhardt? Just while we're talking about Reinhardt inexplicably having blinks, I've always thought it'd be really funny, right? Is like if you toggle the shield on and off 5 times, a little pop-up comes up like, would you like to enable sticky shield?
Sticky shield.
I always had like, you know, you hit shift and it's like, oh, you want sticky keys? Like, no one wants sticky keys. Go away. And I can never, it's like, turn this feature off permanently. I always check that box. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
And it keeps coming back up.
I follow all the steps and then I press shift a few more times. I'll be like playing a game, toggling shifts like, you want sticky keys? It's like, I want you to stop pulling me out of my video game. Man, sticky keys has lost me so many games.
And that's why you can only blink 3 times and not 5 times, because that would be an issue. So
again, you get sticky blinks.
I do want to sort of speak to...
Sounds like a really lame version of WikiLeaks. Doesn't
the next map a little bit here, because DeToNator.GOLD are going to be able to pick the hybrid. They're already down 1 map. This could be actually a pretty quick one for Hong Kong Attitude by the looks of things, because I kind of favor DeToNator a little bit on the controls, because in the past they have looked a little bit better on the controls in my opinion. That's mainly been off the back of good Genji / Tracer play, specifically coming out of Anakin. That's kind of where you can really let him loose, and he can just do his own thing in a very sort of open, chaotic kind of environment, and in a very fast-paced environment. Now we're going to go into something like hybrid, where you do have to slow the pace of the game down a bit. Maybe it's a good chance for Saihate to go back on Soldier, which I think is a strength of DeToNator, but also for Anakin, he's got to be able to pick his moments a bit better, and maybe there's less of a chance to actually leverage him.
Yeah, so, I mean, arguably one of the few reasons they are a little bit more favored on control, and it sounds really odd to say, is like you do get a little bit more chaos in those control maps, and yeah, look, sometimes DeToNator can just kind of leverage that a little bit, but you're right, I don't think they had the same kind of measured play, and also, less so on this one, but when we do come up to Assault, Hong Kong Attitude are again going to get the pick, if I'm not mistaken. So they can just opt to go, you know, we talk about this a lot, you go for the first defense. If you can hold out, then you've got a nice offense sort of set up ahead of you. I mean, they can do themselves some favors to actually make this a quick finish if they really want when they finally end up in that situation.
So in regards to the hybrid map that we're coming up to now, which, like you said, it's DeToNator's pick, I've got to say the DeToNator have shown that they feel very comfortable on King's Row. It might not actually reflect in the standings how comfortable they are, but they do always seem to pick King's Row when they get the choice of hybrid. And they also go for these unique setup plays where they're the only team that I've seen run a Sombra on attack for the first point of King's Row. And
let it be heard, by the way, it didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't work is the big thing. And it's also an incredibly telegraphed strategy, right? You come out of the gate, the defending team says, oh, they've got Sombra, or even worse, they say, oh, we're playing against DeToNator on King's Row, they'll have a Sombra, and then you can very easily just, not even composition-wise, just position-wise, counter out that form of attack.
Yeah, I do want to be able to sort of also say to that point that they're the first and also now probably the last team that are going to do that. And not only that, but the most recent time that we have actually seen DeToNator play King's Row, they've dropped that completely, which is kind of, I would say, good to see because like you said, Pixie, it wasn't working anyway, so maybe...
It's kind of like Flash Wolves, and every time they've pulled out Orisa, we've just never seen it again.
Well, actually we have, and now...
We're just not in the same situation.
Exactly, we're seeing it now on Zhongyi playing it defensively, specifically to protect Torbjorn turrets and the stuff like that, so that's where we are, and DeToNator, funnily enough, are going to go to King's Row itself, and they're going to prove the point of not actually running that Sombra setup, or maybe they will because, you know, they've decided they can still make it work. It'll be very risky. I kind of would prefer them not to go.
Did you just see that? Like Tracer, like emotes to a security camera before vandalizing public property with high-tech bombs? That was despicable behavior.
In the middle of London as well.
That is what's wrong with the youth of today.
Well, look, she's probably just been out at the pub late. She's always talking about it when you go to King's Row. She's always asking if you want to nip off to the pub. So probably just a little bit drunken, disorderly behavior there. Vandalism.
Overwatch really needs to stop encouraging drinking. Like, what if you were like, she says that, and you're like, yeah, sure, and you just get up from your game and go to the pub?
All right, so here it is, of course, still DeToNator. It was their map pick, so I'm expecting something pretty decent here, and also it's the Lijiang King's Row combo again, fellas. We've kind of missed this combo for some time. Now,
we're back!
We are back to the Lijiang King's Row combo.
This is how you know. Yeah. This is how you know you're not in a dream. You're like, you know what? Everything is far too normal for this to be a dream.
And then maybe you finish it off with a smattering of Temple of Anubis for dessert as well.
Just to really
sink it down.
A normal 3-course meal.
If we're finishing it with dessert, then that is assuming that, of course, Hong Kong Attitude are going to 3-0 it. And to be honest, guys, I'm kind of feeling that's definitely going to be the case. I don't think
feeling that's definitely going to be. That was a really interesting way to commit to that statement. I just want to say.
Maybe we get supper if DeToNator do pull out a win on one of the next 2 maps, and we get to go to the escort map. But
and maybe they do too, and we're forced to eat an after dinner menu as well.
A midnight snack. That's what it's going to be.
Well, fellas, I'm actually okay with that because I'm a pretty hungry guy with a big appetite. So let's see if DeToNator.GOLD can actually
those king meetings.
Can actually pull out a map win, which would be pretty great. Thank you again, Smite, for your analysis. We'll get back to you after this map. Excited to see what DeToNator are going to pull on here, and kind of scared as well because, you know, because maybe they go back to some of the old stuff they've been doing, which
What are you scared of? You're not the one who has to come up against it.
I'm just scared to see it. All right, it's
okay, but it would haunt your days.
Unsettles me at bedtime.
You're lying there in bed, you're like, oh, Sombra on attack. You jolt awake.
Oh boy.
You wake up in a cold sweat.
Yeah.
Having imagined the wacky compositions.
She's been there all along.
Gold.
She was there all along.
The Sombra. You wake up next to Sombra, been there all along.
I wouldn't mind that actually. It's now... it's going to be... It is actually looking like... I'm going to assume this is Hong Kong Attitude on defense. It's really a 50-50 here anyway, and it is not. So never mind that. Good news is Saihate is going to in fact be on that soldier, so that is something that I want to see him flex onto. Anakin can realistically play anything here, but look, DeToNator, they're running essentially that double hit scan lineup that has been somewhat, at least in this tournament, popularized by Flash Wolves. I like to call this the golden comp.
The golden comp. That's a good way to put it, and look, this just seems so incredibly stock standard. On both counts, actually, you know, the soldier on the defense, no soldier on the offense, no spooky team comps to come out of DeToNator, nothing to be afraid of. everything's going to be fine.
Absolutely fine though. But Hong Kong Attitude, I'm not too sure because
They
K4 actually, he looked really low. He actually gets traded.
Yeah, they do at least trade, so they're kind of getting something out of this. Picking Samurai D as well here, so Hong Kong Attitude kind of keeping this one going now.
Well, it has been fairly even trade so far. This does actually work in the favor of Hong Kong Attitude, spawn distances and whatnot, and that's kind of reflected in the fact that nearly 2/3 have gone to the cap. In fact, over 2/3 now. DeToNator getting a little bit of contest, but I think it's going to go over.
They really aren't committing to this defense at all. Now they are, and it's already gone over. Yoshiharu, too timid, comes through too late. Sure, you killed K4 in all that, but the team got completely routed. It's still happening as well. Shylin going absolutely off there. That was as poorly as that commit could have gone for DeToNator.
And this is where Hong Kong Attitude, I believe, should go for somewhat of a close hole. Ooh, does find the other Tracer. It wasn't Saihate, it was Anakin. Anakin will be able to shut you down. So, all of that early momentum coming up from Hong Kong Attitude does momentarily get slowed down, and DeToNator should be able to get a hold here. Some of them actually still very cautious. Check this out. They're not even really pushing ahead too much, and they probably should now.
Yeah, this is going to be DeToNator's opportunity to commit to a fight, though. Good pulse bomb out, and unfortunately, Anakin loses his life to Mango, of all people. They do get the trade back onto a Ting, but DeToNator, they're already looking the worst for wear, losing Samurai D as well. K4 asleep means they are able to close him out, but this, Transcendence running for Hong Kong Attitude means they're actually kind of pushing back DeToNator, who are going to commit a sound barrier, but they've lost sight of the goal. The payload is actually still miles away from where they're currently fighting.
How did he get hit?
It wasn't in his sights. He didn't see it coming.
That's the problem though, because he did see it coming. He sort of tried to run and dodge it, but he got killed anyway. It didn't really get enough kills on attack by. So
he thought he was still on DeToNator. He was trying to dive on it, like what he does to the grenade, but yeah, he needs to go the other direction.
Well, unfortunately, it's just not going to work out for him. It is going to be the sound barrier commit out of Hong Kong Attitude now to try and really secure this one out for themselves. And DeToNator do look like they're starting to fall apart.
Eugene is going to make an appearance as well. Unfortunately, he's going to be sent back packing immediately afterwards. And this is a nano boost on Anakin of all people. So hey, it's creative, but it's what even happened there?
Mango Jai came out to play again, and Mango Jai is just one of those guys that can actually get those kills when he needs to.
One of those Mango guys.
One of those Mango guys, but it is going to be the cap now coming through for Hong Kong Attitude after a little bit of resistance from DeToNator, but honestly not enough resistance altogether at all, and now they're sitting on 0 ultimates.
By the way, that Eugene thing, I always reckon when Genji is pulling out his blade, I know what he actually says is Japanese for the dragon becomes me, but it sounds like he says Eugene as the very first thing.
Absolutely.
I'm always like, who's Eugene? Like, Eugene becomes me. Well, in any case, they've already popped Jin Kao out of the mech, so DeToNator do actually have that to go off for this defense now, kind of forcing Hong Kong Attitude back. So they are going to find their feet for a moment here, but I honestly feel like it is only a matter of time until Hong Kong Attitude have this underway again.
Yeah, absolutely. Jin Kao about to get his mech in there as well. You got a couple ultimates to play with, no DPS also, fortunately. So just gotta wait for that mech, and as soon as it does come back, it's gonna be Hong Kong Attitude on the offense one more time. Expecting a jump in from Ting as well. There it is.
Very aggressive, and they kind of punish DeToNator, who is still kind of set up as though they're routing Hong Kong Attitude. Very deep play now by Hong Kong Attitude. Ting very aggressive on the backline, absolutely scattering them. Luckily, they're still able to keep the payload contested, so Hong Kong Attitude are getting a ton of room for this. But
good bubble.
DeToNator aren't really picking up too many kills. They finally close out a couple, and it's actually just enough. Getting a Ting there means they kind of open up the rest, so they pop Jin Kao's mech. This time, I don't think he's going to be able to get it back, and he does get forced back. And actually, the payload didn't really go any distance off that.
It kind of went a minor amount of distance, but this is the second corner that it's going to start just slowly backing itself, reversing it back to, I guess, the second cap if Hong Kong Attitude don't get in here in time. Pulse bomb committed, does go wide though.
Yeah, completely wide in fact. Anakin does actually get taken out though by Shylin, so that is an opening that they have.
A little bit of a side prize there. You didn't hit anything with pulse bomb, but you did kill Anakin on that end. Something has to get done out of this, so Hong Kong Attitude have to convert extra kills.
Sleepy K4, they did actually pick up Samurai D, and it doesn't seem to matter that sleep came through now, because the Ting kind of went big on the backside, even as they do close out on K4. And they're all fighting away from the payload. DeToNator fast losing sight of the goal here with this nano boost running. Saihate is desperately trying to get onto this one, and he does get something through, but now the nano boost is out. He doesn't actually have a tactical visor just yet. They do beat back Hong Kong Attitude just briefly one more time, but all they've really done is bought seconds.
DeToNator did a great job of keeping Saihate alive. Even, you know, Anubis coming out was actually really good because the 50% damage reduction stopped him from going down. Shinelan tried to assassinate him. Honko Attitude applied a lot of pressure, applied a lot of effort to get down Saihate. All of that did not pay off. Saihate still in the mix, about to get, in fact, he already has attack visor, should be looking to commit as well.
Well, that's the very early commit from Yoshiharu with the self-destruct. Doesn't find anything. Now Saihate trying to open up with his attack visor. It does actually work. There we go. Good work for them. The trade does come back for Hong Kong Attitude, but they've probably already lost too many members to keep this offense going, unfortunately. They are starting to get some big trade backs, though. They may just want to commit to this. They're deciding to. Heck, why not? The members that died are still going to have a bit of a long walk back, longer indeed than DeToNator's will, but Hong Kong Attitude aren't losing any more members, and they're keeping the pressure on. They only need to get the payload a short distance from here. They're going to go ahead and commit with the self-destruct. Doesn't quite catch anyone, but they do kill Samurai D while that's all going on. Just barely getting the commit out for that nano boost, but I don't even know who it landed onto. Is DeToNator. Left, right, and center start dropping in Hong Kong Attitude. They opted to commit when a lot of teams, I think, wouldn't have, and it does end up paying off. They look like they're about to cap this one through. Good job.
Samurai D getting pooped off the side as well is just going to add insult to injury as Hong Kong Attitude get the cap, and then a lot of that actually came down to a Ting, who I've been quite impressed with on Winston so far, at least on King's Row, because he opened up a good majority of those plays. In that moment where you said it looked like Hong Kong Attitude may as well back off, a Ting turned it around. He got the mech out of Yoshikoru, killed Yoshikoru after that as well, really started to turn things around, puts down a bubble in front of Saihate when he needs to, really stops up the nano visor combo, and in general is being a real nuisance against DeToNator, and DeToNator is finding it difficult to deal with the Ting. So a Ting, while you know he's had some tough moments on Reinhardt, right now on Winston, he's looking good.
I'm going to find myself agreeing with you. That's the thing. I want to kind of give some credit here to DeToNator, though. They actually drew a lot of time out of Hong Kong Attitude after going pretty much unopposed up until that point. The first point got capped on really the first push. The second point, I mean, it was pretty much non-stop action for Hong Kong Attitude pushing that one through. There was really no stall for DeToNator. And actually on that third one, they did bleed out a good 5 minutes from the clock. That was actually very well done by them. I don't know if they were ever really going to be able to hold out completely, just because the payload was mostly moving throughout all of this, and Hong Kong Attitude felt pretty favored going into all of those fights, even just in terms of sheer ultimates, but DeToNator did hold out for an incredibly long time.
Absolutely. A lot of that came off the back of keeping Saihate alive. Like I said, a lot of pressure from Hong Kong Attitude actually applied to Saihate, but very few times they actually managed to push him out. Even Saihate, when he finally died, he got a couple of trades, or at least he enabled trades for DeToNator to keep their defense going, which was extremely important. And this is why, you know, the difference between Saihate and Tracer on Soldier has been pretty significant. When he's on Tracer, it doesn't feel like he's got all that much impact. When he's on Soldier, suddenly things start to really turn around for Hong Kong Attitude. Then, of course, when you have Anakin on the table as well, he's still Anakin and he's still always pulling weight.
Yeah, that is absolutely the case, and I think we're going to be seeing Anakin coming out either on the Tracer or the Genji here. This will just be a scouting Hanzo, I'm almost certain. Oh dear.
So this is...
It's not a scouting Hanzo.
Oh wow, no, it is not at all.
Hello.
You are deadly right about that, but Hong Kong Attitude got to stick onto the double hit scan. Anakin might just get punished here.
7 health he got as low as. A Ting not quite able to close it out, but luckily a Ting didn't lose his life. A lot of Winstons would sort of overextend that.
Oh!
Good grief, he got one! Oh, this is the most frustrating thing ever when you're in a game and you feel like you just got one lucky shot, but that was actually very well lined up.
Well, I mean, it's good because he knows roughly where K4 is going to be hiding. This could be a kill as well. They just need to secure it, gets the anti-heal onto Jin Kao.
Okay, because of how that worked out, they were chasing Jin Kao, went around the corner, and there was that little animation of when Tracer recalls. It was almost like the entire mecha had recalled for a moment there, but not so much. Anakin gonna go ahead and open up with this ultimate, but he's not really found anyone. He was trying to catch where he thought Hong Kong Attitude were. He didn't shoot at where Hong Kong Attitude actually were, and well, kind of paid for it with his life, as did the rest of his team.
Well, that's kind of unfortunate because he was shooting A through the hotel to really kill anyone in the hotel and deny that space, but also B into the archway, so he's kind of going for a bit of a 2-for-1 play there. Hong Kong Attitude didn't quite to see what their point of view of that was, but it did look like from this perspective anyway that they just got out of the way. No one was respawning through the archway.
I don't even think anyone was there in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's kind of the other half of it. Was A, the people that were, they got out of the way, and the other people that just weren't even there, well, they don't even care.
Well, they're sticking with this Hanzo here. They really feel like they've got something working off it, so we'll have to see how much more mileage it can really get, because it's not getting a ton of damage through, nor is he really getting many picks, aside from that one quite impressive looking one on K4.
Yeah, absolutely. So it kind of operates in many ways like a cheap Widowmaker, because you are just looking for that one pick to really set the tone and really get things going. Unfortunately, although they got that one pick on K4, they didn't get much out of it.
Just, I want that to be heard all across the nation. Hanzo is just like a cheap Widowmaker.
Kind of.
You got it from the dollar store.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's.
I don't know who that insults more, whether that insults Hanzo mains or Widow mains.
Hopefully both. My intention was both.
Both are frankly the biggest pain, because if they don't, like, they will not get any picks, and then they get the one and they feel justified. That's almost like what's happening here with Amica. Like, he got a headshot on K4 and he's like, no, guys, I can get another one.
So what's great about Hanzo that he really brings to the table is because the Sonic area definitely comes up a little bit more often, you get to scout at the positions. Now, scouting our positions is not enough. DeToNator need to be able to use that information and do something with it. So they have to get this high ground control to start things off. Maybe give that to Saihata. That would be a really good idea.
Already they're not really getting much for this though, as they lose Yoshiharu's mech. Amica getting pressured. Samurai D was barely able to stay alive through that as well, by the way, because they kind of threw everything at him. And now they've used up all their ultimates. They have absolutely nothing to go on here. And Hong Kong Attitude looking dead poised to first hold them, because DeToNator, even with all their ultimates up, can't seem to find anything remotely favorable, not even counter trades.
And right at the last moment, Amican is going to head back onto the Tracer. So
Scouting Tracer.
I was concerned about DeToNator.GOLD coming in with some sort of Sombra setup. They actually went with the Hanzo play instead. And unfortunately...
Which was equally normal.
Which unfortunately is... kind of gives them the same result at the end of the day. This now is a kill into K4. They had that before though, and they didn't do anything with it. So we'll see if they do it now.
We'll have to see how the capitalization comes through. They're trying to get the pressure onto Eting and CQB, but Shaolin catches Saihare, so they're really going to struggle through this fight. Dodlog getting pressured now. Shaolin is just going completely unopposed in all of these fights, non-stop, and this is the last opportunity DeToNator actually have. If they don't even get a third here, this would be even more than just heartbreaking. This would be absolutely devastating, and that is what's going to happen. Hong Kong Attitude slammed the window shut on DeToNator's poor dainty fingers.
And unfortunately for DeToNator, they went for the gambit with the Hanzo. It didn't work out. You bet on the wrong horse, unfortunately.
So the wrong Hanzo.
There
You bet on the wrong Shimada. They would have actually been better off with
You're
Genji.
actually right. They would have been better off on the Genji. You're actually not even wrong there.
Where's Jeff when you need him?
And that's the thing about this sort of lineup from DeToNator is this just kind of happens. And I was saying, like, don't go for the Sombra. And then they went for the Hanzo anyway, which kind of, at the end of the day, did have the exact same effect, which is not allow them to actually get the cap on through. And now they're 2 maps down, and Hong Kong Attitude are looking extremely good. And that's kind of expected for the team that beat AHQ versus the team that only took a map.
If I'm not mistaken, though, DeToNator did upset AHQ on Assault, so they can at least hold on to that one. But when they upset them on Assault, their hybrid actually looked way, way better than what we saw just then.
And AHQ just lost to Hong Kong Attitude, the series as a whole. So
I thought you were what is his name from the Marvel movies? Open up the portal.
And I'll see you guys later.
I cannot confirm or deny that I'm this person.
Benedict Cumberbatch, you are. Anyway, it is 2 up now. Hong Kong Attitude to DeToNator.GOLD, and Hong Kong Attitude even get the next map pick as well, which kind of just makes things even worse for DeToNator.GOLD. So while DeToNator.GOLD did take an assault map off of AHQ, it would have been better for them to have now be in a position picking the assault against Hong Kong Attitude. Unfortunately not, though.
I want to talk about the most crushing thing for DeToNator that will actually translate over to the assault map type is that on their defense, when they were coming back to contest the first
Doctor
point
Strange,
of King's Row,
that's the one.
Yeah, I got that when you said Benedict Cumberbatch.
Sorry, I
He never said it out loud.
I just remembered, but back to what you were saying.
When they came in to just last second save that first point on King's Row, they were committing a ton of bodies, and to be honest, even if they got there in time, it looked like a losing fight. They would have given off a huge amount of ultimate charge, but even then it was such a late commit that the point had just gone over anyway. They lost a whole lot of lives, a whole lot of position for the streets phase, and then of course, like I mentioned before, all of that ultimate charge. That will outright lose you the game on Assault. If you do that on the first point, doesn't matter if it's Hanamura, Volskaya, or even Temple of Anubis, it's going to lose you the game because they're just going to rush off to that second point, snowball, and outright cap you straight away.
Or at least get a decent 2/3, which would enable them to then cap on through. And it's a real tough thing to deal with. And I think you actually pointed out, Pixie, that was one of the biggest mistakes with DeToNator. They were just too timid to try and commit. And when they did, the cap went on anyway, and they just lost the members.
Yeah, exactly. And by comparison, Hong Kong Attitude were very sure-footed in their defense there on King's Row, and I do expect exactly the same. Really, no matter what assault we go to. I mean, look, if you can't actually break the first point of a hybrid, that is basically half of an assault, especially the one where you have the favored respawn, which you do have on that first point. You question their ability to even cap a first point of Hong Kong Attitude. And like I said before as well, Hong Kong Attitude can actually pick the side. I would not be surprised to see them pick home side, because then if they do actually get a first point defense, all they have to do is cap a third on the first point. That is about as easy as it gets as far as picking up wins go.
I also think there's more advantage than just getting to go home early when you pick the defense first. It means you also go in with a lot more information when you go into the second round of attack, right? If you did, like you said, first hold before the first third has even gone by, you know exactly what you need to do to win. You don't have to go for any huge setup to play for thirds, or, well, I mean, you could play for thirds because that would just outright win you the game, but you don't have to go for any setup to very quickly take the whole point straight away. You could very much just scare them off the point or force them to come onto the point and outright lose a fight because they can't give up that positioning on the point. Quite often, a big thing we see on King's Row, I know it's not assault, but on King's Row, teams will stand in the archway, and generally the attacking team sometimes does get a third, and that's sometimes okay for the defending team as long as they can push back in. If you're not in a position to do that though, because the enemy team basically first held you without giving up a third, then that's bad news.
All right, we're going to find out exactly how DeToNator are going to attack and hold, and how Hong Kong Attitude are going to do the same when Assault happens, which is the next map, and we'll have to find that out right after this break. Welcome back again to the Overwatch Pacific Championship, and we're about to head into map number 3 of Machi, sorry, not even Machi Esports, that was a while ago now. Hong Kong Attitude versus DeToNator.GOLD. For a moment there, I thought Machi was just going to play 3 matches tonight. That would be definitely a little bit of a marathon for them.
It wasn't even a while ago, because Hong Kong Attitude have won these 2 maps pretty quickly, so
I'm factoring break time in there as well. I'm sort of adding in the whole mix.
Even with break time.
So Hong Kong Attitude against DeToNator.GOLD. We are about to head into the third match, which is Assault, and also Hong Kong Attitude's pick. Does anyone want to throw out a prediction for what that map's going to be?
Volskaya!
You got a 33% chance to get it.
Yeah. It's like, if I had to actually give a pick, I do think we would go to Temple of Anubis. But I mean, it's 33% chance. So whatever.
Well, look, I mean, the previous series would have been mirrored if it was going to be Temple of Anubis, but then again,
heck, why not?
That's fine.
That's fine. Oh yeah, I'm not saying that's the reason why it won't
be. It was tasty. A lot of the same thing, thanks.
Well, look, I think there's reason to go to Hanamura for Hong Kong Attitude. They've proven to be capable on it. They've also got a pretty strong soldier player in K4, and I really do enjoy seeing a soldier on attack for Hanamura, especially on the second point. Once you can get entrenched up there, it actually it puts a huge amount of pressure on the defenders. Sure, they've got that respawner's advantage, they can just flood the point, but at some point you do have to go up and answer the soldier that's up on that balcony. So I definitely think Hong Kong Attitude with K4 on that duty can absolutely pose a massive threat to DeToNator that they just can't answer.
Yeah, honestly, I just kind of want to see Temple of Anubis purely for the symmetry. I mean, like I said, all of the same thanks. I think I mentioned it the other night, but I had a meal recently where I was getting the same thing as my girlfriend. So she ordered, and I said, all of the same thanks. And obviously the waitress didn't think that meant I will also have one of those. She thought that meant I will have that exact same meal. So we only received 1 meal.
Oh, you had to share it, but DeToNator
it was a very disappointing.
Hong Kong Attitude not looking to share tonight. They want to go 3-0 if they can. I actually want to
not sharing any wins.
I actually want to speak to that point that you may smite, because Hanamura is actually one of the picks that Hong Kong Attitude has pulled out a decent amount in the past. So as much as we're saying maybe Temple of Anubis is the way to go, maybe it still is. Hanamura is always in the back pocket for Hong Kong Attitude. That's something that I think we all have to sort of remember and consider, because it is one of the maps where they've beaten a decent number of teams, including Blank On. So, yeah, you can't forget about it.
Look, AVRL, can Can you just pick Volskaya so that at least one of us is right?
Yeah, I'm going to pick Volskaya
Sure.
just because there's 3 of us, there's 3 maps. That's not going to work in a future patch, but right now we can still make it happen.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of looking forward to the day where we can all be wrong.
Isn't that great? No, because every team and all of us are always going to pick the Horizon Lunar base because everyone's going to want to play it because it's so cool. I haven't seen anything about it yet.
Yeah,
I've played it. I've played it. It is actually really cool. It's quite different. It's very different actually to the 3 existing assault maps. So I don't know. I don't know enough about what teams really love in a map. So I don't know whether or not it's going to be adopted. I just don't know. I don't have enough information.
If they love Gravity, they probably won't pick it.
Yeah. A lot of people quite like Gravity, I hear. But I mean, I hope it is. I mean, heck, it gives us more variety. It's Temple of Anubis.
Yep, cool. We all own $5.
Yeah.
I never agreed to that, so there you go, Smite. You're now $5 down.
Yeah.
And Hong Kong Attitude may just be 3 wins up tonight. There's also Temple of Anubis. The symmetry is there, the exact same 3 maps. It's like your set dinner right there. You got your entree, your main, and now your dessert.
That's what it is.
Of Anubis, Hong Kong Attitude, the home map. They chose that one. Any initial... Oh, actually, this is interesting because this is where we first saw in OPC anyway. Mango Joy brought out the first counter Sombra of the entire tournament exactly on this map from this team.
Maybe we will see it, and if we see it, it'll be on that first point offense. Basically, the way it works is it's not so much about the first point. You go and hack up the health packs on the second point. You do get a bit of charge up on that first point, and you get an EMP on the first point, which a lot of the time the other team isn't expecting. Then if they do opt to the Sombra on the defense, they go for it and find all their health packs are already hacked.
And Mango Joy, you know, he successfully did that. That sounds like a sort of a cheese strat that you'd be like, I don't know if he'd be able to actually pull that off. And Mango Joy, surprisingly, or maybe unsurprisingly, was able to do it. And they came out looking really smart afterwards. You can do that, and maybe you come out looking really dumb if it fails. But fortunately for them, it did work out. And now a lot of teams maybe not doing that exact sort of rotation that he does, but they are bringing the Sombra as a counter pick on attack on Temple of Anubis specifically that we saw tonight. A number of teams have done that.
Look, if you're DeToNator, you've got to be prepared for this because there's been footage of it. There's been a game where Hong Kong Attitude have played it. So you need to have memorized his path because a lot of it was spent while stealth and through the translocator. So DeToNator need to be aware of it. And if they can catch it out, that's a huge advantage for them on the first point.
Tell you what though, they won't need it if Hong Kong Attitude do actually first hold the first point, because then you don't even need to set yourself up in advance for that second point offense. You only need to cap the first one. So, heck, we'll see how it all comes together. Are going to see, I don't believe it, or maybe now I do, we're going to see a Reaper on the offense.
Oh, and which is, by the way, not a crazy thing either. In the Fireball versus Machi series, Reaper came out on both sides, attacking and also defending. So there it is. Couple of the change-ups to the actual Temple of Anubis meta. And it's interesting, this game in particular, there's just different even metas across different maps. So there's the overall meta, and then each map has like its own meta, which is quite unique.
Yeah, well, we'll see how this actually works for them. They are going to swap
both teams
off.
were
Yeah, they are going to swap off. Yeah, I would have been very surprised to see a Torbjorn on the attack. I mean, I've certainly seen Stranger Things, but you know what? I haven't. I've seen them in solo queue.
All right, so it's going to be DeToNator on the attack first, and someone must have listened because Hong Kong Attitude will be taking that first defense, and with the Torbjorn as well. Golden comp out of DeToNator.
And I mean, like we said, this is very very expectable. A lot of teams opt to this just because, like I said, if you do first hold, you give yourself the easiest chance for a win.
That's
turret already taken out, so that it can actually just be reset up. Samurai D getting pressured though. That's not good news for DeToNator, and they're kind of struggling to get their end on this one. Not really getting the return trade onto a Ting. They finally pick up Mango, but it's too little too late because the rest of the team has already been absolutely smacked down in the desert sun. And they are going to be repelled.
And that is actually really unfortunate for DeToNator because I felt like Anakin had a decent setup there. He found an early kind of pick-off onto Mango Giant. That's something that DeToNator probably could have leveraged there, but unfortunately everyone else on the DeToNator side died. It looked like 2 different attacks. Anakin on the flank, he had success on his flank, but unfortunately for the rest of DeToNator, the other 5 members just fell over.
You had an attack Torbjorn DeToNator, maybe that wouldn't be happening.
Yeah, who knows? It'd be...
Here comes Shaolin, though, looking to get the flank around, though, his detonator set up, and he absolutely will be able to make something happen with it. There he comes out the gate now, and getting right on top of Dotlov. They get the turret once again, but once again, they're getting hard pressured. Yeah, pulse bomb out. They are already able to take out Sayhade. Once again, they get the turret, but it doesn't matter if you keep killing the turret. If your members are dying, they this time actually kill the Tourbillon on top of it as well, but once again, it just doesn't matter. Anubis was committed onto a Ting to help close that one out, and DeToNator, they're just struggling through this one, really.
And the problem here for DeToNator is they are committing onto the turret. They're killing the turret every single time. Who they're not committing onto is K4, who now has a tactical visor. This member has been unopposed for this entire defense, so
he's more of a turret than the turret.
Kind of, actually the turret's more accurate, but the turret doesn't have a tactical visor, so there is also that. And one of the things I said about Numbani earlier when we looked at the Blank HQ game is you have to take the turret, you also have to get the soldier.
Oh, that was nasty. Sayhade is asleep, and then like a pulse bomb gets put on his chest while he naps. That was rough. And again, DeToNator getting absolutely repelled. And pretty much every single time they've lost a fight, they've lost an entire minute as well, up until this one, because they've managed to lose 2 fights within 1 minute.
Yeah, well, this is actually, I would actually prefer that from DeToNator. You actually want to take the fight a little bit quicker here. Just really leverage the time difference. You don't want to be taking minimal fights where you don't have as many chances to really commit yourself. They got to get past a Molten Core now as well. So for Hong Kong Attitude, they can play this fight quite cheap if they want to. One Tac Visor and maybe a self-destruct should be able to hold a point, or you can just play the Molten Core depending on what DeToNator are going to commit, and they could commit everything.
DeToNator do have a good run of ultimates that they can commit at least. They have almost all of them if Amica can get this pulse bomb up as well. They will have also. Let's see how they commit to this one because they're already kind of
Jinkel's preventing the turret. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, they pick the turret. The turret, there we go. And again, picking it as they try and reset it back up. But again, now K4 is going to deal with the rest of the team while they're busy dealing with the turret. And it doesn't matter that they're killing this turret. The self-destruct is going to come out, but K4 keeps clear of it. Now they're going to be able to come in for the counter-attack because Yoshiharu is picked. Delay of as low as the Ting going wild on the point. Samurai D is forced back, and once again, DeToNator are just repelled, and it's like exactly the same fight as we've seen every single time.
And Hong Kong Attitude actually won that fight even cheaper than I expected them. I said they may have to use both the self-destruct and attack visor, or just one Molten Core. They actually just used one attack visor, which is even better than that. And on top of it, DeToNator committed 2 ults of their own.
That was a bargain bin defense.
Exactly. So DeToNator in a very bad spot now. Still a Molten Core up. If they're struggling to get toast before, they're really going to struggle now.
And they were struggling to get Jinkao as well. He's going to be able to commit a self-destruct, so that entire nano boost got completely eaten. Sayhade's only the only person left. Oh, this is just nasty, dude. This is just...
Or it's fantastic if you're Hong Kong.
I mean, it is. This is what you want. This is why you pick that first defense. If you do first hold, you've now got an easy attack ahead of you. But I actually didn't expect the first hold to be that one-sided.
And we actually talked about this, and I think you brought this up, is, you know, if you do just get that first hold, we're not even going to see all the crazy stuff happening on the second checkpoint. We're not even going to see all the Sombra and the Reaper things. Exactly.
There's no need for the attack Sombra either.
Isn't going to be a need for any of that whatsoever. So one more time, DeToNator, where I believe they really failed to capitalize is you need to get both the turret and also the soldier. They would only get one or the other. In most cases, it was just the turret and never K4. And that's where the heart of the issue really lies. At the end there, you did see Yoshiharu flying up to contest K4, even committing the self-destruct on him. But aside from that, K4 at the end of the day actually still lived. So there you go.
Yeah, I felt like there was poor target priority, poor execution, poor setup. And I mean, like I said, it was like they lost the fight in the same way every single time. So it wasn't even like they were trying different things. And unfortunately, we're falling prey to K4. It was like the same pathing, the same everything. Kill the turret, kill it again, and then just get killed. Get dealt with while you're busy dealing with those turrets.
And actually, I would say Anakin did a fairly good job because he was able to find picks on his own in a lot of different situations where his team wasn't. So there were still picks coming through for DeToNator, just not from the other members. And that's kind of what it feels like is Anakin plays his own little offense and then the other 5 members of DeToNator are playing one. If Anakin wins, that's cool, but the other 5 members of DeToNator are not winning their attack.
And now the Tourbillon set up on the defense for DeToNator. Let's see the Hong Kong Attitude can crack this, or maybe we need to ask how quickly they can crack this.
Well, they only have to get a third, and K4 is going to bring up the Widowmaker. I don't even think it's going to be a scouting one. It's just going to be a normal pickup. Oh, wow. Come on, please. Really, K4? Never mind that.
You just can't
he actually still
win
hasn't changed, so I'm actually okay here.
You know, he is actually going to come out the gate. Well, this is very interesting.
He just decided to walk back into spawn for some reason.
Just trying to, trying to work his cards.
Well,
good exercise.
I can recommend that. 2 turrets down in very quick succession as well. So.
Yeah, so Delave is now really struggling to keep him set up. Now they pick Delave himself.
He's not
Samurai
gonna get
D
set up
gets
again.
taken out and already getting on top at this point. Now Shaolin absolutely routing out these healers. Dotlov stuck up in this room, doesn't close out any of these kills. All they've got is Jin Kao's mech, and Hong Kong Attitude clearly have somewhere to be because it's already over.
There it is, 3-0. It's like you ordered a dessert and you just scoffed it in one go because you got a bus to catch or whatever, maybe a bedtime even. So they're a quick one.
Yeah,
quick and easy.
like for dessert, you got a single truffle rather than getting the whole tiramisu, you know? It's just one little morsel, tasty, done, all right, I'm off.
It's a tester. It's a tester, and Hong Kong Attitude have tested DeToNator. Unfortunately, DeToNator do not pass. Here we go. K4 going to pick up the play of the game as well for a sharpshooter. Wonder what that is.
Very sharp.
Yeah, so this is an example of what I'm talking about where DeToNator.GOLD unfortunately do not commit onto K4. They're unable
It's like they're not even looking up. They're like, where are all these bullets coming from, guys?
They are committing onto the turret, but they're not getting the second half of the objective, which is you got to get K4 off as well, and then you'll be able to cap.
The problem as well is that they're running, like you said, the golden composition, the Tracer and the Soldier, which means your 2 DPS don't actually have any vertical mobility. There's no way for them to get up there, so it relies on either your Winston or your D.Va to go up there. And I feel like that's not too much of a big ask because you can simply send your D.Va up there. Yoshiharu can just knock the Soldier off straight away and at the very worst, at least contest him, keep him busy for a little while, hold up that defense matrix, and you may not win the duel up there, but at least he's not killing your team like we just saw.
And what Hong Kong Attitude did extremely well, if you really want to compare the two attacks, is they got the turret down twice. In fact, the second turret was just like a level 1 that Delave was trying to set up, and then they killed Delave himself, so there was not going to be any other turrets. Then they decided to go in, and they just demolished everybody else out, went into the small rooms, killed that person, so Haate had no chance either, and it was all over before anything really happened. So, I mean, Hong Kong Attitude made that look kind of effortless, and for DeToNator, that was kind of what they needed to do as well, but they just never really got there.
Let's not forget as well, they shut them out on Lijiang and they first held them on King's Row, you know? It just so happens that King's Row went longer because Hong Kong Attitude were attacking first and took it all the way to the end, right? I mean, you almost wonder if they had been defending first as well, if we were going to see a similar situation, first hold and then over in the blink of an eye. Look, that entire series actually felt really incredibly one-sided. Probably one of the most one-sided we've seen with DeToNator for quite a while. And that's actually quite interesting because this isn't a series against, you know, Flash Wolves or Blank. Heck, this is more one-sided than the last series against AHQ. So I think what this actually speaks to is a strength here in Hong Kong Attitude. This is still the Hong Kong Attitude that beat AHQ. That is what that feels like. I think it's the Hong Kong Attitude that can beat Machi, and maybe it's a Hong Kong Attitude that can beat AHQ again.
And it's certainly a very strong looking Hong Kong Attitude lineup now, and Machi have had a couple of chances in this round robin already to show up against the big teams. They failed that against Blake. They failed that against Flash Wolves as well. They will get another chance against AHQ in the coming weeks, and Hong Kong Attitude now starting off fairly strongly in this now round robin. The big matchup I'm looking forward to eventually down the line will be Hong Kong Attitude versus Machi Esports, because these are two teams that are still contending for that 4th place spot. Now, when we look at the top 3, fairly set in stone. You look at the bottom 3, fairly set in stone, but that middle 2, that's still a competition.
Yeah, and that difference between 4th and 5th, I mean, even just in terms of pride, right, that's pretty significant. And I actually mentioned this as well because, the wins at the end of the last round robin were tied between those two teams. They now have to win and lose the exact same games for them to stay tied. The moment either of these teams drop a series to a team below them that the other team does not, or by the other what am I saying? The
other
other
way around,
option,
yeah.
the other thing happens, and they win a series against one of the teams above them that the other team doesn't. That stops being the case. The tie is broken, and the precedent Hong Kong attitude carry into this is that they can beat AHQ. So if they do it again, instantly they are set to take 4th place, and it would be all on Matchy to find some other place to kind of turn it around. All Hong Kong attitude is kind of have to fly the ship steady at that point.
I mean, yeah, you talk about how Hong Kong attitude and Marchi is going to be a fantastic matchup, and I'm definitely agreeing. But I'm also looking forward to Hong Kong attitude versus AHQ as well, because I feel like there is a real shot that Hong Kong attitude have at taking out AHQ. I mean, AHQ are looking their weakest in a long, long time, and this is a great moment for Hong Kong attitude to strike. Now, it might not mean much in terms of placements. Sure, it might almost guarantee Hong Kong attitude a 4th place spot over Marchi simply because of that, but it's going to be a fantastic series to watch.
That's scary because this is the worst time of the tournament now, arguably, to be looking your weakest. You're about to head into playoffs, so technically the playoffs would be the worst time to be looking your weakest, but if this is how you're looking going into playoffs, it doesn't say very good things for AHQ going in there.
It was exactly the same worry we were actually having about Blank a couple of weeks ago, up until this basically last weekend, where we do feel they've started to get back on the horse in a very significant way. Now look, AHQ's own thoughts are that they're just having this transitionary time where they're kind of figuring things out, sounding some new things out a little bit that Flash Rules did for a time, and then they're going to come back strong. But that is quite a big assertion to make this close to playoffs, because then suddenly your only time to come back strong is in playoffs. There's a lot riding on that. You would like to be looking strong before you reach playoffs in an ideal world.
And they're coming in as the 3rd seed as well, which, you know, if the rules in my head are correct, that means that Blank have a bit of a home advantage starting things out, and that's going to make things even more difficult for AHQ. But enough about AHQ, because we did actually just see Hong Kong attitude and DeToNator.GOLD. What this now means for DeToNator.GOLD is still on 3 wins. They're unable to take up that victory against Hong Kong attitude. We need to really see how they do against Fireball, because that's kind of the other team for DeToNator.GOLD. If they were going to take a match of anyone, maybe Fireball. But even tonight, look, Fireball versus Machi was a competition.
I can't say right now that DeToNator have any hope of taking a match off Fireball. Maybe over the next few weeks we see them improve, but the next few weeks is all they have left. So they've got to put their all into practicing, getting better at improving, because right now they are not a team that can take down Fireball, because previously Fireball have been a team that have just swatted away the Japanese teams because they've just seemed such a step above them that I don't think it's ever gone past the game 3. I think once DeToNator took it to a game 5 against Fireball.
Sunsister took it to a game 5.
But that was a while ago, and Fireball...
They actually led that 2-0 before
You're quite
Fireball
right.
reverse swept.
You're quite right. And you're quite right there as well. I mean, it's quite interesting. They have been 3rd from the bottom basically for this entire tournament, but even then, they've not actually been within striking distance skill-wise from these Japanese teams, even when DeToNator took that win off HQ. And now I'd say Fireball are looking stronger than ever. Heck, I think if DeToNator are going to be picking up map wins against anyone, it may even just be Matchy.
Well, let's take a look now at the play of the game. It goes to Shailin on the Tracer. Kind of unsurprising there, because, you know, like many people have said, including SN from the Taiwanese desk and also us here, Tracer is just the X factor. It is the key to success for many teams in the competition.
And it was quite often just moments where Shailin would go in, throw out a casual pulse bomb, and get
take it.
Sometimes not just 1, but 2 kills at once. And I think at one point it was both the healers, which is at a point just buying your team a little bit more time, but it also just secures a fight win right from the get-go. And in a game where time is still a very important thing, that's still a great thing to have, just a Tracer who can consistently get in there, get a pulse bomb kill, and get out alive, immediately giving your team a numbers advantage.
And that's the thing. I mean, not only is Tracer really great in the meta right now, very strong, very important pick for most teams. Yeah, look, Shailin is also incredibly good at Tracer, and that's why we rate him a lot as really one of the best Tracers in this tournament. You know, among the top 3 Tracers in the tournament, even if the team isn't actually breaking that top 3 themselves. Heck, they've been as low as 5th place at certain points, yes. But Xiaolin has never been part of that problem. Xiaolin has always looked phenomenal, and I think it's a well-deserved man of the match every single time he gets it.
And which is also why when you compare it to DeToNator.GOLD, like I said at the start of the game, when you weigh up the two teams and their players pound for pound, a lot of the players kind of stack up. Look, you maybe even look at Anakin and Keifer and say maybe Keifer was a little bit better, but Anakin is a superstar within its own right. Then you get to the Tracers, and that's when you start to get to a real problem. The Xiaolin, when he went up against Saihate, it really showed him. You're even at the sort of point now where you're putting Anakin onto Tracer himself, and that's like half working out because Anakin it feels like a band-aid fix, right? Because you almost don't want Saihate on the Tracer, so you're putting Anakin on the Tracer instead. But Anakin is actually kind of wasted on the Tracer because he's so good on Genji, he's so good on other picks like even Soldier. That's actually what you want Anakin play. We even see his McCree is just good. So that's actually what you want Anakin play. You don't want him stuck on the Tracer, but he is stuck there.
And they're the only team that seems to need a band-aid fix for a DPS issue. I mean, we've seen teams have it with tanks and with having issues picking up triple DPS and things like that, maybe executing dive, picking up Sombra. Those I think are all fair enough, but like having trouble just figuring out who in your team is straight up going to play DPS, like how do you even get in that situation in the first place? How does that team even come together that you can't figure out who should be playing the Tracer?
Well, actually, it was kind of Fireball as well because they also had a problem where Apudo just needed to play everything, right? It came down to Enzo and us really improving. He really jumped up leaps and bounds specifically on Tracer for Apudo to say, okay, cool, you can play there now. Now I can be put on something else and we can really balance out that DPS role. But Fireball, look, they had kind of those problems, and it is the Apudo effect. And look, it's on DeToNator, it is the Anakin effect where you just want Anakin to play everything.
I think, it also comes down to they enter this tournament and find out everyone's got amazing Tracers.
All right, well, we're going to have a chat now with the player of the game, Xiaolin. I'll be translating this one over.
MVP 小林先跟线上还有现场的大家打声招呼。
Hello。
好，小林他本人有一点点的害羞。既然你今天是使用闪光拿下了 MVP， 那我们针对闪光这个角色来问一些问题啦。在逆风的情况下去怎么带领团队打出破口呢
So how do you usually play?
绕背。
So I like to flank a lot.
还有什么其他技巧？
等队友call位置，然后我去绕背。
Other people sort of call targets for me.
那在国王大道这张地图啊，没有掩护、没有坦克的掩护之下，在第三段进攻的时候怎么切入后排？
So how do you get into the back line on King's Road?
星星 call 要跳水，然后我就一起。
All right, so Ting on Winston calls who he's jumping, and I sort of land on the same target.
对方出半藏的时候，你没有吓到吗？
有一点。
So they didn't ran Hanzo. Were you a little bit surprised? He says we were.
然后就全部躲起来。
啊什么什么？
就全部人躲起来了。
So as soon as we knew the Hanzo was here, everyone on our team started hiding.
当时主扣怎么说？
当时我们是想说要躲起来，可是有人在
躲起来。
躲起来。
So the call was to hide.
报我说有班长，然后就被射死了。
然后就被射箭。
And then K4 immediately died.
原来是这样，再一次恭喜你们拿下了这场比赛的胜利。我们也跟线上还有现场大家说声晚安。
Is the interview now from Xiaolin. He's got a lot of fans, by the way.
Ouch.
Just by the way. Makes you kind of feel bad. Makes every other person that's had an interview.
No screaming fans.
Do not get those screaming fans. All right, we're going to get on the couch as well with Jin Count and Dotolo.
大家好，我是 HK 的金靠。
好，我是 DeToNator。
我是 DTN 的副长。
哇，来了这么久之后，没想到 DeToNator 这边也会讲中文了。好，那我们今天就是找到两位呢，就是我们最近的采访呢都有换一个方式，就是我们会希望找到两位比较有共通点的选手，那一起来接受我们的访问啊。那两位都是同样是身为队伍的 caller。
So you're both the main caller of the team.
Caller 在一个团队中就像一个精神领导嘛，所以我们今天才找到
You're the leaders of your team.
接受我们的访问哦。好，那我们好，那我们的第一个问题就是，其实身为一个 caller， 你们在团队之中要带领你的队伍，有就是平常是用一个什么样子的方式在
What kind of style, what kind of method
凶啊，或者是说
you use to lead the
跟他们这个就是比较像询问式的或怎么样呢？就是这边
其实一开始进来这个队伍的时候，脾气很暴躁，
很暴躁，
然后就是
I was
很多时候做不好
a bit of an aggressive caller
没有达到
to
我自
start
己
with.
想要的，然后我就会
If things weren't
就是会
happening,
很容易去质问队友
I
啊，
wasn't
或
too
者
happy
是
about that.
直接当下就是直接说为什么没有这样做，然后
Always
或
very
者是
questioning of team
谁
members.
没有做好，然后就是 有点像是在怀疑队友，对，所以说其实常常搞得团队气氛很差。啊，可是现在的话，基本上现在的话就是
So right
就是
now
谁的
though,
状态比较好，然后
now that we are improving,
然后去问队友可不可以这么做，然后
So
让
now
我们一起去
we're sort of working
去
together a bit
打一个
more
点，然后打一个破口
and figuring
然后
out the
或者是
objectives
我跟别人去
and
做一个搭配
targets
这样，
a lot
然
better.
后
就是你们一直有慢慢的在做改变，现在是变成说你不
You've
一
been
定是完
improving
完全
slowly.
全的 caller，就是也要看情况之后，每一个人都可以提出自己的意见。
So everyone's kind of
因为
calling
每
out
一个
for
人
the
其
team as well.
实当下自己可以做到什么事情，然后
So
因为
everyone now
一个
has a
队
lot
伍
more
中你
initiative
用
on
一
their
个脑
arm.
在玩，跟用6个脑在玩的运作完全是不一样的。
真的是不一
So
样的。
there's
所
a
以
big
说
difference
当下
between
其实
one
我能
person
做
thinking
事
about the
情
game
就是
versus
我能
everyone
想到
thinking
就是
about
这
the
样，可
game.
是别人可能提出说有另外一套打法，然后如果说可行的话，那我们就是当下我们就会知道说该怎么做，然后去执行它，这样。
说哇，我觉得这个用数学基本数学来看，6个脑一定比1个脑厉害嘛，对不对？
Yeah,
但是
it
你知道
does
6
sound
个
like
脑
6
常会打
people
架，
sounds
就是
like
会没有
it's
一
better
个
than one person
大家都有自
thinking
己
about
想
the
要
game.
的方向哦。
But are there
所以
conflicts there as
说
well?
打完的时候，所以说我们自己在团练啊、比赛啊打完的时候，大家都会检讨说，我们当下这样做是不是对的？啊，如果说错的话，我们之后就把这
So
个
we
不
do
对的
have
东西把它
discussions
修正掉
afterwards to
然后
decide like
然后
what
慢
was
慢的
working,
就会
what
知道
was
说
not
哪一些
working,
call 是对的，哪一些东西是可以
which
做的。
calls were correct and which calls
HK 现
weren't.
在这个走的这条方向是非常非常的正确的，就是一个大家就是要有讨论才会进步嘛，
Sounds
就是要
like
发生冲
HK
突，
moving
发生
in
不一定
the
的
right
冲突，但
direction
发生
here.
一点小摩擦，
It sounds
才
like
可以
the
慢慢
team
的
is
把你
working
的这
really
个
well together to
零零角
figure
角
out
磨
what
掉，
the
然后变
issues
成
are
一
and
个
where
最
to
圆滑
improve.
的队伍。
已经吵过很多次了。
已经找过很多次了，
And we've
没有问
discussed
题，
this a
我
lot.
觉得这
We've
个是
looked at
必
this a
经的
lot.
道路了。好，那这边就是一样，也有就是同样的问题想要问
And then the same question for Dodler.
コールについて最初の頃チームでコールをしているときはどんな感じでしているのをみんなに言ってください。
まず一番後ろから穴で見てるので、相手のスキル、使用したスキルとか、味方の位置の修正と、カバーの要求、相手に対する、それと相手が来るであろうフランカーに対する、ここから来るよとかの、ルシオに対するカバーの要求が主で、チームの結構指揮官的なのはうちのチームでルシオの人と、ウィンストンのサムライ D がやってくれてるので、チームの主なメインオーダーはうちはメインタンクに結構任せているところはあります。
因为我们的主 call 其实是坦克跟露西欧。
So actually,
对，那
a lot of our calls
安
come
娜
from
是
our
在
tank
最
player
后面
Lucio.
会就是看一下整体的状况，
And I
然后
kinda
还有
stand
对
right at the
方
back as the Anna.
大绝的使用状况，或
I
是
kinda look at
哪
the
个地
ultimates
方
a
需
lot
要
as well.
做 cover，然后这部分是由 DeToNator 他负责
So
的。
that's my responsibility in the team.
那比较细微的，像是现在需要往哪里移动啊，或是
And a lot of
要
The macro strategy of where we
解
need to be
决哪一
moving
个敌人，这个部分是比较像我们主坦跟我们的路
and
线
who's the
会
target calling us. That mainly comes down to the
没
tank
问
and the
题那就是可以
Lucio.
看得出来，每个团队都有他自己不同的。
So it looks like every team kind of
就
has
是
a different has a different style.
只要有效率就可以嘛，没有问题的。那我还有一个问题想要问，就是问 DeToNator 这边哦，就是其实 DTN 呢整体来看的话，它的战术非常的多变化，就包括我们在这个艾希瓦德看到他们有用这个小
a few
美
different
啊，然后或者
changes
是
in terms
说
of
他们也有
compositions
在
as well,
一
like
些
running May
不
and
一样的地图
Icon
拿出 Sombra 或什么一些
and
比较
running
偏战术
Sombra
层
on
面的
different
角
maps
色
as。well.
那这种偏战术方面的东西，他们是他们教练想的吗？还是
Is
说他
this
们大
coming
家
from
一
the
起
coach or is this
想出了这个方法，然后一起
coming
来
from the
用的
players as a group?
今までリーグではデトネーターっていうチームはいろいろな作戦を見せてくれた。例えばアイヘンのミエちゃんの作戦やらソンブランの作戦やらそれはコーチが考えたものか、それともメンバーが合わせて考えたものでしょうか。
メインの作戦とかは、花村で使うような、ああいうちょっとなんていうんですかね、奇想天外な作戦は結構コーチの視点からやってもらって、でソンブラを出すような、アヌビスとかは大体、もうこれから使ってみたいという選手が結構主張して、じゃあもう元からこういうメタも来てるし、ソンブラ使ってみようという、選手とコーチの部分もどっちもあります。
就是我们各种的战术，像是小美还有花村的小美战术，
We're looking at
是
May
大
and
部分
Hanamura.
是由教练想出来
And
的。
that comes from the
像
coach.
是神庙等，就是需要用到汉影的角色
We're
的
looking
话，
at
就是
playing
选手他会个人比较觉得说
Sombra.
这个 meta 是可以使用
On
派
Temple
这样的
Anubis,
角
this
色，
is
然
something
后
we
我们
looked
在
at from
跟
as
教
a
练
group,
做讨论，
looking at
然
the
后
meta,
研发出新的战
looking at
术。
what's popular in the meta, and we work with our coach to figure that
就
out.
是也是非常的有趣啊，就是因为毕竟大家有讨论的话，有互相讨论就会互相进步嘛。
It sounds like
没有问题
if
哦
everyone
那我有
works
一个问
together,
题
then
想
everyone
问
works
这个小
improves
林这边
together
哦
as well.
不是小林军靠讲错了，刚刚那个你们两个长得太像了嘛，对不对？小林是你弟，没有问题哦。就是说你是一个队伍的 caller， 那在担任一个 caller 这么长的时间之后，有没有什么心得啊，或有发生什么有趣的事情或什么东西可以跟我
What
们
have
大
you
家
really
分享？
discovered as from your time
有时候
main calling?
讲出来不一定是对的。
哦
A
，OK，
lot of the
然后
times
其
things
实
I say I
其
actually
实
realize
会
aren't
因为
correct.
自己的固执还有古板，其实也因为自己就是会觉得自己当下就是说出来的东西是对的，或做的是对的，然后其实也害死队友很多
It feels
次。
like it feels
对
like
所以
the
说
things I'm saying at
这
the
点
time
部分
do
的话，
feel
就是
correct,
会因
but
为
sometimes they actually come out
上
incorrect.
台
And
打
that's
比
been
赛
a
或者
real
是
learning
经由
curve.
团练的时候，然后会慢慢的去修正，然后慢慢让自己
We're really discovering that
就是
from the
知道什么
practice
事
and
情可以
scrims
做，
as
什么
well,
事情不可以做，然
and
后
to
慢慢
really
的进步
discover
这样。
what does work and what
听
doesn't
起来
work,
也
and really
是
tune
算是
ourselves in
经
the
验
right
谈
direction.
吧，有点感伤的感觉，就是我也开始打了蛮多次的。
对啊，因为其实我们现在也是还有很多地方要进步。
We still have a lot of
而且现
areas
在
to improve
队伍
in.
状况其实就是比起 FW 他们还有 Blink 他们那么厉害的玩家，那么厉害
We'd really like to catch up to
进步
Flash
空
Wolves
间
and
还有
Blank.
大，
蛮多
所以说我们的队上面一定有比他们更多的问题需
你
要改进。
这个意思，
We still have
闪
a
电狼
lot
跟
more
Blink
problems
很
in
厉害队伍，你的意思就是 AHQ 不是很厉害的
So
队伍
are you
很
saying
厉
that
害
AHQ maybe
还
not
有
as
在
good?
开发
偷，偷掉一
And
下
Jukal saying,
还有
yeah,
在
we
开发
do
哎有
think
在开发
AHQ are very good as well.
等
of
下一
course.
季或者是赛季末的时候，说不定我们就追上人家了。
没有问题哦。好，那这边就是也想问 DoTaLove 最后一个问题哦，就是说
Got one more question for
他
Dom
来到一个职业的一个环境啊，那这
So
一
coming
段
into
时
a
间也算
professional
蛮长了嘛，
gaming
也已经
environment.
过了将近2个月的时间了。
So
他
you've
有
been
什么
here for about
心
2
得啊，
months now?
或者有什么有趣的事情想跟我们大家分享
What
的
have
吗？
you sort of discovered in
こ
this
の
time?
オー
What
バー
are,
ウォ
what
ッ
are
チ
some
のリー
interesting
グに
things that
参
have
加す
happened?
ること、もはや2ヶ月3ヶ月経ちましたが、
はい
そのプロになって、
はい
その台湾に来てリーグに参加することについてはなんか心得ありませんか？
そうですね、海外遠征がまず初めてで、もう自分自身が初めてになって、まあ、いろんなその海外に来てのそのプレッシャーっていうものもありますし、ちょっと多分ストレス的なものも多分自分の中で多分抱えてると思うんですけど、その中でどれだけそうですね、ミスしないパフォーマンスをよく保ってこのリーグを保ってやっていけるかっていうのがすごい重要になってくる期間だと思いますので、そういうところでもまだまだ自分は未熟なので、そういった意味で成長していきたいなっていうふうに思ってます。
就是他其实是第一次到国外，然后
This is
生
my
活
first
这样
time
快
leaving
2-3个月的时间。那他觉得就是在这种国外的生活，一定会有一些生活的压力，
So
或是
living
无法
outside
解决
Japan
的事情或
has
是
been
烦恼。但是要如何在这样
a bit
的
of a
环
learning
境
curve
下，
as well.
然后
There's been
他
some
还要发
difficulties.
挥出就是专业或是选手应该有的
But it's given me an
实
opportunity
力
to
或是
really
表
learn
现。
what it
那这
takes
部
to
分是
be a
他需要去
professional
克
player.
服的，而且他现在就是还蛮努力的这样
And
子
it's。
那
made
希
me
望
work harder
就
as
是
a
接
player.
下来的联赛他也可以就是保
And
持
now,
实力，
After
然后
this as
继续
well,
加
I
油
feel。like I'll be able to
真的
take
要
home
就
a
是
lot of important lessons.
来到台湾这边真的人生地不熟，是非常的辛苦啊。那我们这边也是谢谢你们可以来
Thank you
参加我
for
们今天的这个采
coming
访
to
啊。那
Taiwan,
我们这边就
and
差不
thank
多
you
要
for
告
your
一段
hard
落，
work so
跟
far in
观
this
众说
country
个
as
拜
well
拜
in
喽
the，
拜
DOPC.
拜。
And thank you for the interview. That is Jin Kao and of course Dodoloff from both Hong Kong Attitude and DeToNator.GOLD. Some interesting thoughts in there.
Yeah.
Obviously, on Jin Kao's side as well, they're saying still got a lot of work to do, still want to really catch up to Flash Wolves and Blank. And then on Dodoloff's side as well, it's, obviously a lot of things to work on their side and some interesting experiences and learning curves being in a foreign country.
And the work ethic of Hong Kong Attitude seems to be pretty unfailing. I mean, I don't want to say they don't even feel good about the wins they do take, but they're very humble, they're very much down to earth, and look, no matter what, we have to work harder. We have to keep improving.
It's good to be goal-oriented like that as well, though, because if ever there's going to be a moment that you say, okay, look, we're at an acceptable level now, then suddenly you stop improving. So it is good to have that attitude of, look, we've always got to try and reach new heights. But interesting to note was that they were talking about catching up to teams like Flash Wolves and Blank, and left AHQ's name out of there.
Oh, they sort of saved themselves
Yeah.
towards the end there. Well,
Did sound like an omission, but
it did, but let's take a look at tonight's matches anyway of what we've had so far. Blank take down AHQ Esports 3-0 in a pretty convincing victory, and then in an even more convincing victory, Blank took down Machi 3-0 as well to finish off their home day. Fireball then lose in a nail-biter against Machi Esports, and Hong Kong Attitude come in and swiftly take their own 3-0 against DeToNator.GOLD. Now let's take a look at how that is now reflected in the leaderboards as well. Blank 19-5. AHQ unfortunately take that loss and put themselves in 18-6. Hong Kong Attitude now move ahead of Machi Esports 12-10, as Machi did get 2 earlier losses, including today's matchup loss against Blank. And obviously Fireball as well, now sitting on 15 losses to 7 wins, and DeToNator.GOLD 3 wins to 19 losses. But that is pretty much it now for week 9. You'll have to come back and join us in week 10, day number 1. It is going to be Friday, and we're going to start things off with Hong Kong Attitude versus Blank, followed by DeToNator.GOLD versus AHQ. But that's going to be it from us. I've been Kevin AVRL Walker. Joined with me for the full day has been Matt Pixie Carroll and Matt Smite Ross. And from everybody at the Full Circle production team, have a wonderful evening. We will see you